People look at success like it's a magic trick. They see the car, the house, the career, the applause, the confidence, the spotlight, but they don't see the grind, the sweat, the countless late nights, and the endless early mornings. They don't see the hours where you were tired, but you pushed anyway. They don't see the moments when you wanted to give up, but you chose to keep going. They don't see the sacrifices you made, the celebrations you skipped, the comfort you gave up so you could focus on building something bigger. See, the truth is, the real look doesn't happen when the cameras are rolling. It happens when no one's around. It happens when you're sitting at your desk studying while your friends are out having fun. It happens when you're in the gym sweating through another set while everyone else is sleeping. It happens in the quiet, in the moments where no one is clapping for you, in the spaces where you're alone with nothing but your dream and your determination. Success is just like a building. You admire the beautiful architecture, but you forget about the foundation buried deep in the ground. That foundation is invisible to the naked eye, but without it, the building wouldn't stand for a day. That's the same with people who achieve greatness. The applause, the recognition, the spotlight, that's the architecture everyone sees. But the long nights of practice, the failures that nobody talks about, the moments of doubt you had to overcome, that's the foundation. And the thing about the foundation, that it's built brick by brick, choice by choice, day after day. You don't build it in one day. You build it in the thousands of small, intentional actions that no one notices. And here's the part most people miss. The unseen effort is often harder than the visible result. When you're out there performing, competing, or showing the finished product, you're already in a space where momentum is carrying you. But behind the scenes, that's where you've got to manufacture your own motivation. No audience, no music, no lights, just you and the work. And that's why most people don't make it. They think success is just about showing up to the big moments, but it's about how you show up to the small ones. It's about whether you can push yourself when the world isn't watching. Think about it. An athlete doesn't win because of what they do in the championship game. They win because of the hours they spend running drills when the stadium was empty. A speaker doesn't inspire thousands because of the words they say on stage. They inspire because of the nights they stayed up rewriting and rehearsing when nobody knew their name. A business owner doesn't succeed because of the grand opening. They succeed because of the months or years they spent planning, making mistakes, adjusting, and building before they even had a single customer. That's the real work. That's the work nobody applauds. The unseen effort is uncomfortable. It's repetitive. It's lonely. It doesn't give you instant gratification. You're not getting likes. You're not getting followers. You're not getting standing ovations. You're just grinding. You're investing hours, energy, and focus into something that in the moment feels like it's not paying off. But here's the secret. Every single unseen hour compounds. Every rep, every page read, every dollar saved, every risk taken. It all adds up. And then one day the results break through and people call you lucky. They say you came out of nowhere. They think it just happened. But you'll know the truth. It didn't just happen. You built it when no one was looking. And the reality is, not everyone can handle that stage of the process. Most people want the result without the grind. They want the glory without the sacrifice. They want the applause without the preparation. But you can't cheat the process. You can't skip the foundation and expect the building to stand. You can't skip the unseen effort and expect to keep the success you're chasing. The world will always see the highlight reel, but it's the behind the scenes footage that tells the real story. Behind every gold medal, there are hours in the dark gym when the athlete's muscles burned and their lungs were on fire, but they kept pushing. Behind every hit song, there are endless hours in the studio, rewriting lyrics, fixing beats, recording take after take until it's perfect. Behind every thriving business, there are countless nights where the owner stared at spreadsheets, stressed about bills, wondering if they were making a huge mistake, but choosing to believe in the vision anyway. So if you're in that stage right now, where it feels like nobody sees you, where it feels like your effort is invisible, where it feels like you're putting in everything and getting nothing in return, you're in the right place. This is where champions are made. This is where the winners separate from the quitters. This is where the real success is forged. Not in front of the crowd, but in the quiet, unglamorous grind when no one is watching. Because the unseen effort is not just a part of success. It is the very thing that creates it. Preparation is where the real game is won. Long before you step into the meeting room, before you walk onto the stage, before you shake the hand or sign the contract, the outcome has already been decided. Not by luck, not by chance, but by the work you put in when nobody else was there. Preparation is the secret stage that no audience ever sees. It's the hours you spend studying your craft, rehearsing your delivery, sharpening your skills, and learning from your mistakes. It's the time you take to plan, to research, to think through every possibility so that when the moment arrives, you're not just ready, you're unshakable. People often think confidence is something you just feel, but true confidence is the byproduct of preparation. You feel confident when you know deep down that you've done the work, that you've covered every angle, that you've left no stone unturned. Every champion you admire has spent far more time behind the curtain than in the spotlight. They've studied game footage, run through scenarios, and practiced until their bodies and minds could perform almost on autopilot. Because in the real world, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. If you prepared deeply, you'll have a solid foundation to stand on. If you've neglected preparation, the pressure will expose it instantly. That's why some people choke when the spotlight hits them. Not because they're not talented, but because they're not ready. Think about a musician performing in front of thousands. What you see is the show, the lights, the sound, the energy. But what you don't see are the hundreds of hours in the rehearsal space, the practice sessions where they played the same song over and over until it became second nature. You don't see the mistakes they made in private, the notes they missed, the verses they forgot. They made those errors where it didn't cost them anything. So by the time they stepped into the arena, they were flawless. That's what preparation does. It lets you make your mistakes in private so you can shine in public. Preparation is also about mental readiness. It's one thing to prepare your skills. It's another to prepare your mindset. Life is unpredictable. And when you're chasing big goals, challenges will come at you from every angle. If you've prepared your mind, train yourself to stay calm under pressure, to adapt when things change, to keep going when it gets hard, then nothing can shake you. People who don't prepare mentally often crumble when reality doesn't match their expectations. But those who prepare for the unexpected aren't thrown off course. They adjust and keep moving. It's important to understand that preparation isn't always exciting. In fact, most of the time, it's tedious. It's repetitive. It's not about getting instant results. It's about putting in hours of work now for a payoff that may come weeks, months, or even years later. And because the rewards aren't immediate, most people won't do it. They'll skip steps, hoping they can figure it out on the fly. But here's the truth. Improvisation works best for those who are prepared the most. The more you prepare, the more freedom you have to be creative, to adapt, to respond to opportunities without panic. Preparation is also the great equalizer. You might not be the most naturally talented person in the room, but if you prepare everyone else, you can still win. Hard work done consistently before the moment comes will often beat raw talent that hasn't been disciplined. There's a reason some of the most successful people in the world aren't necessarily the most gifted. They simply prepare longer, harder, and smarter than their competition. Behind every seamless presentation, there are hours spent rehearsing in front of a mirror. Behind every confident answer in an interview, there are nights spent researching the company, practicing responses, and anticipating questions. Behind every athlete who makes a clutch play, there are years of drills and conditioning, so intense that their body reacts before their mind has time to think. Preparation creates instinct, and instinct under pressure is what separates winners from everyone else. When you prepare, you also build trust, not just with others, but with yourself. You start to believe in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. You stop doubting and start performing. That inner trust is priceless, because in high pressure moments, self-doubt can be your biggest enemy. Preparation silences that doubt. It replaces it with certainty. It tells you, I've been here before. I know what to do. I'm ready. And remember, preparation doesn't just happen once. It's a continual process. Every win should lead to more preparation for the next challenge. The best never stop preparing. They understand that today's victory doesn't guarantee tomorrow's success. They're always looking ahead, always sharpening, always staying ready. Because when opportunity shows up, it's too late to start preparing. You have to already be ready. And the only way to be ready is to have lived behind the scenes, putting in the work day after day, long before anyone was watching. Consistency is the silent force that shapes your entire future. It's not about what you do once in a while. It's about what you do over and over again, especially when no one is there to hold you accountable. It's easy to put in effort when there's an audience, when people are watching, when you feel the rush of approval and recognition. But the real test of character is what you do in the quiet hours, in the moments where it's just you and your goals, when no one is clapping, no one is encouraging you, and no one even knows you're working. That's where greatness is built, through consistent action in the unseen spaces of life. When no one is watching, there's no pressure to impress. That's when most people take it easy, slack off, cut corners. They think it doesn't matter, no one will know. But that's the trap. The truth is, everything you do in private eventually shows up in public. If you're lazy when no one is watching, it will reveal itself in your performance. If you're disciplined when no one is watching, it will reveal itself in your results. You can't hide from the harvest. You reap what you sow. Even if no one saw you sow it, consistency is like compound interest. The small, repeated actions don't seem like much in the moment. One workout, one chapter read, 1 hour of practice. But over time, they multiply into something powerful. The problem is, because the payoff isn't immediate, most people quit. They get excited for a few days, maybe a few weeks, and then they stop when it stops being exciting. But the ones who win, the ones who break through, are the ones who keep showing up long after the excitement fades. They've learned to be driven by commitment, not by feelings. Think about an athlete training for a major competition. The fans see the big moment, the race, the game, the medal ceremony. But they don't see the thousands of training sessions where the stands were empty. They don't see the early mornings, the cold weather, the sore muscles, the days when nothing seemed to be improving. That's the discipline of consistency. It's choosing to show up even when there's no applause, no audience, no guarantee of immediate success. It's the same with business, relationships, health, anything worth having. If you only put in the effort when people are watching, you'll never reach your potential. Success isn't built on occasional bursts of effort. It's built on the daily grind, the repetitive habits, the little decisions that no one notices. You can't post your way to fitness. You can't talk your way into mastery. You can't fake your way into excellence. You have to do the work over and over in the shadows so that when the light finally shines on you, you're ready. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself in private, you strengthen your self-belief. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who can be counted on. And that trust is crucial because when challenges come, you'll need to believe in your ability to handle them. If you've been inconsistent, you'll doubt yourself. But if you've been showing up, even in the smallest ways, you'll have the confidence to keep going. Another thing about consistency, it doesn't have to be flashy. In fact, it often looks boring from the outside. People think success is about giant leaps, but it's really about steady steps, one after another, day after day. And the irony is, the people who seem to have made it overnight are often the ones who've been consistent for years in private. The overnight part is just when the world finally notices. Consistency also demands a certain kind of humility. You have to be willing to do the unglamorous work without needing instant validation. You have to be okay with people not understanding what you're doing, with them questioning why you're working so hard when they don't see the results yet. You have to be willing to stick to the plan, to keep planting seeds even when the ground looks bare. That's why so many people quit, because they want the fruit without the season of planting, watering, and waiting. But when you make consistency a way of life, it becomes easier. It turns into who you are. You stop negotiating with yourself about whether or not you'll do the work. You just do it because it's what you do. That's when the results start to stack up. That's when the gap widens between you and everyone else who gave up too soon. The truth is, anyone can be great for a moment, but only the discipline can be great for a lifetime. And the way you build that kind of greatness is through the quiet, unnoticed work. The habits you keep when no one is paying attention are the ones that will determine your future. Every rep, every page, every practice session when it feels like no one cares is a brick in the foundation of your success. And one day, when the world finally sees the finished structure, they'll call it talent or luck or destiny. But you'll know it was built through the relentless, unseen power of consistency. Sacrifice is the currency you pay for any dream worth casing. Every great achievement you see in the world came at a cost that most people will never fully understand. It's easy to admire the reward, but it's much harder to appreciate the price that was paid to earn it. Behind every moment of public recognition, there are countless private moments where someone chose discipline over comfort, focus over distraction, and purpose over pleasure. The truth is, before the spotlight ever hits you, there's a season where you have to give up things you once thought you couldn't live without. You trade weekends for work, late nights for early mornings, and temporary fun for long-term gain. Sacrifice isn't glamorous. It's not the part of success that people put on display. It's the part where you're saying no to invitations, where you're declining opportunities that don't align with your goal, where you're missing out on things that everyone else around you seems to be enjoying. People might call you obsessed. They might not understand why you're working so hard, and sometimes they might even mock you for it. But that's the thing. Your vision is yours, not theirs. They don't have to understand your sacrifice because they're not chasing your dream. Every sacrifice creates space for growth. When you give something up, you make room for something better to take its place. But here's the challenge. What you're giving up is usually comfortable, easy, and immediately satisfying, while what you're working toward often feels far away, uncertain, and difficult. That's why sacrifice feels heavy. It's why most people stop at the thought of it. They want the results without having to let go of anything. But life doesn't work like that. If you want to go higher, you have to be willing to carry less weight. Think about an athlete who wants to compete at the highest level. They can't eat whatever they want, sleep whenever they feel like it, or skip training when they're tired. They have to give up foods they love, activities that drain their energy, and social events that interfere with their schedule. They live differently because they want different results. The same goes for anyone building something meaningful. A business owner who sacrifices steady paychecks and free time to grow their company. A student who sacrifices nights out to study for a better future. An artist who sacrifices comfort to create something extraordinary. Sacrifice also means letting go of the old version of yourself. The habits, the routines, the mindset that kept you where you are won't take you where you want to go. And that's one of the hardest parts. Not just giving up things, but giving up who you've been. You might have to sacrifice laziness, procrastination, fear of failure, and the need for other people's approval. You might have to sacrifice relationships that drain your energy or pull you away from your purpose. That's painful, but it's necessary because you can't climb with people or patterns that are holding you down. The beautiful thing is that sacrifice builds resilience. Every time you say no to something that's easy in order to pursue something that's hard, you strengthen your willpower. You prove to yourself that your vision matters more than your comfort. Over time, those decisions become part of who you are, and they create a mental toughness that no one can take away from you. People who've sacrificed deeply for their goals develop a kind of unshakable determination because they know what it took to get where they are. But you have to be clear about what you're sacrificing for. Sacrifice without vision just feels like loss. Sacrifice with vision feels like investment. You're not just giving something up, you're trading it for something greater. You're choosing the long-term win over the short-term pleasure. You're planting seeds now, knowing the harvest will come later. And while you're in that season of sacrifice, it might feel like nothing is happening, like you're giving everything and getting nothing in return. That's when you have to remind yourself that the reward is on the other side of patience. Sacrifice also sets you apart. Most people are looking for shortcuts, for ways to get what they want without paying the full price. But when you're willing to do what they won't, when you're willing to give up comfort, to delay gratification, to walk the harder road, you automatically separate yourself from the crowd. You become one of the few who can be trusted with greater opportunities because you've proven that you're willing to pay for them. And the sacrifices you make today have a way of compounding. One decision to give up a distraction creates more time for your craft. One decision to give up unhealthy habits creates more energy for your work. One decision to walk away from negativity creates more mental clarity for your vision. Over time, these sacrifices stack on top of each other until you've built a life that's entirely different from the one you started with. No one claps for you in the season of sacrifice. There's no cheering section when you're up before dawn, when you're staying in while others go out, when you're putting in hours that no one will ever see. But those are the moments that shape you, that prepare you, that set the stage for everything that will come later. Because before you ever stand in the light, you have to prove in the dark that you're willing to pay the price for the dream you say you want. Resilience is built in the quiet moments when no one knows what you're going through. It's forged in the private battles you fight. The ones you don't post about, the ones you don't tell everyone, the ones where it's just you against the weight of life. Everyone sees the celebration, but they don't see the nights you cried alone, the mornings you woke up unsure if you could face another day, the rejections that cut deep, the failures that shook your confidence. They don't see the moments you questioned everything, your path, your worth, your ability, and still decided to get up and keep moving. That's the part of the journey that never makes it to the highlight reel. But it's the part that shapes who you become. Resilience is the ability to stand back up when you've been knocked down, to find your footing again when the ground has crumbled beneath you. But here's the truth. It's not built in the easy seasons of life. You don't develop resilience when everything is going right, when the path is smooth and the sun is shining. You develop it in the storms, in the setbacks, in the moments that push you to your limits and make you wonder if it's even worth continuing. It's in those moments that you decide, will I break here or will I bend and come back stronger? When you face private battles, no one's there to cheer you on. There's no audience, no applause, no one telling you that you're doing the right thing. It's you making the choice to fight through the discouragement, the fear, and the exhaustion. It's you deciding that the dream you're chasing is worth more than the pain you're feeling. And the more times you make that choice, the stronger you become. Resilience is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more it grows. But resilience isn't about pretending you're not hurt. It's not about acting like nothing bothers you. It's about acknowledging the pain, facing it head on, and still refusing to let it stop you. It's about feeling the weight of disappointment, yet continuing to carry the load because you know where you're headed. Some people think resilience means you're unbreakable, but in reality, it means you've been broken before and learned how to heal, how to rebuild, and how to keep going despite the scars. Think about every major success story you've ever heard. Behind every victory, there's a long list of failures. Rejections and setbacks. The athlete who won the championship probably lost more games in their life than most people realize. The entrepreneur who built a thriving company probably went through years of financial struggle, sleepless nights, and near collapse before finding stability. The artist whose work is celebrated probably faced countless critics, doubters, and failed attempts before producing their breakthrough piece. The difference between those who made it and those who didn't isn't that the winners had fewer struggles. It's that they refused to quit when the struggles came. Resilience also teaches you how to adapt. Life won't always go according to your plan, and if you can't adjust, you'll stay stuck. When you face a setback, resilience is what helps you pivot instead of giving up. It's what allows you to see a closed door and start looking for a window. It's what helps you learn from your mistakes instead of letting them define you. Without resilience, every obstacle becomes a wall you can't climb. With resilience, every obstacle becomes a challenge you find a way through. And there's something powerful about knowing you can survive hard seasons. Once you've been through enough battles and realize you're still standing, you start to carry yourself differently. You're less afraid of challenges because you know you've faced them before. You're less shaken by setbacks because you understand they're temporary. You stop looking for an easy path and start looking for the right one because you know you can handle the difficulty that comes with it. Resilience is also contagious. When you keep pushing through your private battles, The people around you notice, even if you don't think they do. They see your strength, your perseverance, your refusal to fold under pressure, and it inspires them to keep going their own struggles. You become proof that it's possible to survive the hard time and still come out stronger. And even though you may never fully share the details of what you've been through, your resilience speaks for itself. But building resilience means being willing to endure seasons where it feels like nothing is working, where progress is slow, and where the temptation to quit is strong. It means showing up when you're tired, trying again after you failed, and holding on to faith when everything around you says it's over. Those private victories, the ones no one sees, become the foundation for the public victories that everyone celebrates later. And the more battles you win in private, the more unshakable you become in public. Because you know deep down that you've already faced worse and made it through. The invisible becomes the inevitable when you pour yourself into the work that nobody else sees. Every quiet hour you invest, every small decision you make, every moment you choose discipline over distraction, it's all adding up, even if it doesn't look like it right now. Success doesn't usually arrive with a loud announcement. It sneaks up, it builds slowly, it gathers momentum until one day it bursts through and the rest of the world calls it overnight. But you know it wasn't overnight. It was the product of all the invisible work you've been doing for days, months, years. The results people admire are just the visible tip of an iceberg built beneath the surface by relentless, unseen effort. Most people underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. They think only big moves matter, but the truth is, the big moves are simply the result of 1,000 small ones compounded over time. When you're doing the work in the shadows, it can feel like nothing's changing. You wake up, you show up, you put in the effort, and sometimes it feels like you're standing still. But what's really happening is that you're laying bricks for a structure that hasn't yet emerged. The foundation is forming, the strength is building, and when it finally shows, it will seem inevitable, because it is. The invisible is often the most important part of the journey, because it's where you develop the habits, skills, and mindset that will sustain you once the results come. The public sees the launch day, the championship win, the viral moment, but they don't see the years of trial and error, the quiet mornings of practice, the lonely nights of planning. They don't see the sacrifices you made that no one clapped for. But all of those moments were essential. They made the outcome inevitable. It's the same way seeds grow underground before breaking through the soil. For a long time, it seems like nothing's happening. You water, you nurture, you protect, and still there's no sign of life. But under the surface, roots are spreading, strength is forming, and the moment the plant breaks through, it grows fast because it's been preparing for that moment the whole time. That's how your work behind the scenes operates. The roots you build in the dark make the growth in the light unstoppable. And here's what's powerful. Once the invisible work has been done, it's nearly impossible for anyone to take your success away. Why? Because they didn't build it. You did. They can't replicate the hours you put in, the discipline you practiced, the knowledge you gained, the resilience you developed. They can try to copy the visible parts, but they can't copy the years of invisible preparation that made the visible possible. The inevitable outcome is yours because you earned it in a way that can't be faked. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you work consistently in the unseen. You begin to trust the process more than you crave the instant result. You stop needing constant validation because you know the work will speak for itself in time. You start to see the invisible as the most valuable part of your journey because you understand that's where the transformation is actually taking place. The person you're becoming in that process is the person who can handle the inevitable success when it arrives. But you have to be patient enough to let the invisible phase play out. This is where most people give up. They want proof before they put in enough work to see it. They start something, but when the results don't show quickly, they assume it's not working. They abandon the process right before the breakthrough. They never stay in the invisible long enough to reach the inevitable. That's why commitment matters. You have to decide that you're in it for the long haul, even if no one notices, even if you feel invisible, because the payoff is coming. And when it comes, it won't be a question of if, only when. The work will force the result to appear because the universe responds to consistent, focused effort. You won't have to chase the outcome. It will come to you because you've built the conditions where it has no choice but to show up. You'll find yourself in opportunities you once only dreamed about, and people will wonder how it happened. They'll look for the big break, the lucky moment, the shortcut. But you'll know it was the accumulation of every hidden hour, every unseen decision, every time you chose progress over comfort. The truth is, the invisible is where the inevitable is born. Every great story has a chapter the world never reads, the part before the recognition, when the work is hard and the reward is nowhere in sight. That's the chapter that determines how the rest of the story unfolds. If you keep writing in that chapter long enough, the ending becomes certain. It becomes inevitable because you've put in too much effort, learned too many lessons, and built too much momentum for the result not to happen. And when it does, the world will finally see what you've known all along, that the invisible work was never invisible to you, and that's why the inevitable outcome was only a matter of time.